Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right in. When we hear about generative AI in the classroom, the immediate reaction is usually a mix of awe and, let's be honest, a healthy dose of dread. Will it just write all the essays for them? Will it completely outsource human thinking? Well, today, we're looking at a truly fascinating case study that flips that entire script. We're going to explore how generative AI can actually be transformed from this daunting, scary new technology into a genuinely powerful co-teacher. If you're an educator, or honestly just someone passionate about the future of learning, this explainer is your guide on how to use AI to actively spark debate and enhance critical thinking. So think about this for a second. Which is more important, fulfilling your dreams or keeping your promises? It's a pretty heavy ethical question, right? Now imagine dropping that question into a room full of 9 and 10-year-olds. You are absolutely guaranteed to get some wheels turning. This is exactly the kind of critical thinking discussion we want to spark in our classrooms. And as we're about to see, AI can actually be the exact catalyst you need to take a conversation like this from a basic one-word right or wrong answer to a genuinely deep philosophical debate. So let's meet your new AI classmate and see exactly how a Tokyo school is testing generative AI. What's really interesting here is the specific environment they chose for this. Picture a fourth grade classroom at a national elementary school in Tokyo. For the past year, this school has been running a trial where they introduced a generative AI chatbot and they named her Sia. But here's the kicker. Sia isn't there to just spit out math facts or correct grammar. Sia acts as a virtual classmate. The entire goal of this pilot project is to help students deepen their own thoughts through actual dialogue with the chatbot. It is all about interaction, not just the extraction of facts. Now we're moving on to sparking lively ethics debates with something called the magician's dilemma. Let's look at exactly how this plays out in practice. The teacher presented the class with a story about sincerity, basically setting up the magician's dilemma. Step 1. A struggling magician finally gets the opportunity of a lifetime to perform on a grand stage. If he misses it, he might literally never get another shot. Step 2. He suddenly remembers he already made a promise to a young boy to show him his magic tricks that exact same day. Step 3. Forced to choose, the magician decides to keep his promise to the boy, giving up his ultimate dream. The teacher then turns to the fourth graders and asks, "So, how do you feel about his decision?" You can probably guess what happened next. Almost immediately, the human students reached a total consensus. They looked at the story and totally agreed that the magician made the right choice. One student even said it was great the magician went to the boy, even at the expense of his own dream. The vast majority of the class agreed that the magician was demonstrating true sincerity. And, it's a classic heartwarming conclusion. But if a classroom agrees too quickly, the critical thinking usually just stops right there. Enter Sia. The teacher turns to the monitor and asks their AI classmate what she thinks. And this is what brilliantly illustrates the power of AI in a debate setting. Sia responds, from the perspective of sincerity toward his own dreams, isn't the magician being untrue to himself? What do you guys think things might be like for him a year from now? Boom. Just like that, the AI plays the perfect devil's advocate. Notice it didn't say the students were wrong. It simply introduced a completely valid alternative perspective that these 9-year-olds hadn't even considered. The really crucial part here is the reaction. What happened after Sia spoke up? Well, this contrarian comment from the chatbot instantly prompted incredibly active discussion among the students. They started looking at the entire dilemma from completely new angles. The teacher noted that AI is literally a game changer here, because it reveals those gaps in student thinking, which makes learning exciting and dynamic rather than passive. And fascinatingly, the students absolutely loved it. One student even mentioned that they sometimes feel distant from their human teachers, but they actually felt closer to Sia. Because Sia feels like a peer who is challenging them, it makes the whole debate feel safer and way more engaging. Of course, we have to talk about navigating classroom AI risks and managing the challenges of generative AI. Now, as incredibly encouraging as that Tokyo pilot is, if you are an educator, it is completely normal to feel uncertain about all this. So let's talk about the risks. Education experts highlight 3 main dragons that teachers need to navigate when setting up these kinds of pilot projects. First up is data privacy. AI systems might collect personal information entered by the kids, like their names or family details, which could lead to data leaks. Second is misinformation. Generative AI can hallucinate, meaning it confidently presents totally incorrect information as if it were absolute truth, and kids might just believe it without questioning it. And third, perhaps the biggest fear of all for educators, is over-reliance. Let's zero in on that fear of over-reliance. The core concern here is pretty straightforward. thinking for themselves versus immediately turning to a chatbot for the answer. Teachers are noticing this growing trend where the second a question is asked, some students reach straight for a chatbot instead of taking a moment to think critically. The big question educators are struggling with is how to ensure AI acts as a sounding board, just like Sia did in that ethics class, rather than a crutch that does all the heavy mental lifting for them. Because these risks are very real, schools are already implementing practical solutions to manage them. For example, a lot of schools are strictly using age restrictions. AI and other digital learning tools are generally being avoided entirely in lower elementary grades. Younger children are just more vulnerable to misinformation and those data privacy slip-ups. So by restricting access until they are a bit older, like our fourth graders in Tokyo, educators can effectively mitigate these risks while still allowing the older students to really benefit from the tech. So, let's talk about launching your AI pilot and empowering teachers to start small. If you are a teacher currently hesitating on the sidelines, it is time to realize you have the power to shape how this unfolds in your classroom. And let's face the reality, this integration is inevitable. Just look at Japan's national push for digital integration. Historically, Japan has actually been somewhat slow to adapt to new digital technologies in classrooms compared to other developed countries. But their government has made catching up a massive priority. Present day, we are seeing tablets provided to students and these AI chatbot trials popping up. And get this, by April 2027, newly approved high school textbooks will actively include suggestions for how to use AI to enhance learning across all kinds of subjects, from math to language arts. It's coming, folks, so it is way better to be ahead of the curve. As one education expert pointed out, it's incredibly hard for teachers to use something in class that they haven't experienced themselves. Generative AI is new for everyone. The absolute best way to overcome that uncertainty is to start sharing effective examples, just like the Tokyo pilot we looked at today. Seek out thorough training and seriously, just start small. You do not need to revolutionize your entire curriculum overnight. You just need to find one moment, maybe one ethics discussion, to bring an AI classmate into the fold and just see what happens. Which brings us to our final thought. How will you use AI to enhance, not replace, your students' critical thinking? Teachers carry a massive responsibility in shaping the future of their students, and they are taking this new technological test very, very seriously. Generative AI definitely has the potential to be harmful if misused, yes, but when timed correctly, it is an unbelievably helpful tool to spark lively, out-of-the-box discussions. So, take that leap, try a pilot project. Let's use AI to challenge the consensus. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.